Hi, Council. For those of you who were not able to be at our council meeting on Thursday, I showed them this PowerPoint presentation, and I'm sorry I did not hit the record button on Zoom, but re-recording it. I cannot include everyone's comments that I don't remember what all was said, but I'll go through these slides for you, and you could email me with questions you might have. We started off with prayer. Nick, our treasurer, presented the financial report that you should have seen in the January spreadsheet, the spread from Nick. He sent some 2 or 3 weeks ago. Current situation is not good. Finances were down in January. Those things affect our ability thinking about facility rental, things like that. We had a Living Well membership bill, $550. We approved that. It's an annual membership. We approved a $150 love offering to be sent to Jonel Gitop, if I'm pronouncing the family name correctly, after the death of his wife Jean. They were a good part of ICF for some years. There was discussion also about a Pakistani guy that is in the southern part of Phnom Penh. I will contact him directly, and I'd asked Christina Leong to forward to me the correspondence he had sent. The current COVID situation and how it affects face-to-face meetings, online services. I shared that I had just read that in the 4 previous days we had here in Cambodia 137 new COVID cases, and since then I've been reading of more cases, this latest outbreak. So the situation as far as face-to-face meetings, it looks like that needs to be delayed for at least another month, and also financially, that would, to not have to pay for rent, would be of help to us. So online services will continue. Thank you everyone who's doing a great job in producing those. Also, we discussed that Christina Leong is aware that we've had more than 100 viewers or views of the services. How many actual people that involves, I don't know. Thank the Lord for watch parties that are watching the services and families are gathering around. So 100 viewers does not mean only 100 people. It's probably a lot more. So facilities, possible sites and issues, and the next slides I'll be showing you are from my research done in the previous weeks. And before I go on to those, new business, we had no new business. We did not have new elder suggestions. Our next meeting in the evening, thinking of alternating between midday and evening meetings so that everyone can participate sometime. I would suggest that we have it when Pastor Andrew's back in country, and then he will still be in quarantine, but he could participate with us in a Zoom call. Okay, yeah, here ICA, I just saw this, the same, just briefly before our meeting, that they closed their services for the next 2 Sundays as far as meeting face-to-face. And so this, in a sense, very much affects our potential facilities ideas anyway. Okay, starting off about facilities, I realized, I don't know if you've ever seen 3D chess. It's an actual game. It was shown on Star Trek. Mr. Spock was playing somebody, but it's a real game. Don't ask me how to play it, but it's obviously complex, and the 3 dimensions of playing chess, I don't even want to think of how to do that. But as I was looking at the various facilities, the complexities of government issues, rents, our finances, COVID, all those things affect our decision-making ability in facilities. So some of the complexities, the 3D challenges, and you're aware of these, I think already. ICF's serious financial needs, our COVID crisis requires short-term thinking. I've decided it's like really 1 month at a time, because 3 months from now, the COVID situation may be very different. If we were to enter into a long-term lease, but then not able to use because of COVID, I don't know. But I've been asking places if we could rent short-term, and approaching it from that direction. The Cambodian government's perceived increasing control over venues used by churches. I had asked Gilbert Appleby to sit in on our council meeting, and he provided some really good insight. I had several conversations with him in recent weeks. And for example, now places that want to have a church rent their facilities, they have to, as we understand it, they have to get registered first with the government in order to host a church. Gilbert can explain more about that if you want to ask him. But this is sort of a deterrent to some places that are not churches, we're Christian organizations. And I had, for example, contacted the CNMA. They have an auditorium that seats 230 people in their training center. Dave Manfred, their director, so I was discussing these things with him. He felt like even though they're a Christian organization, a mission organization, that they should not be registering to become a church or a place that hosts a church. That would change the nature of their mission here, he felt. So even though he's very open and open to ICF, but it just felt like it would not be the right place for us to be in there. So that kind of tension, even on a Christian mission agency, these are some of the complexities. Okay, and also in my conversations with Gilbert in recent weeks, he'd had an observation. He is one of the only 3 or 4 people that I'm aware of who's attended all 3 ICF congregations extensively over previous years. And his observation is that because, let me interject, it is my observation that ICF has been dwindling for about 10 years, the attendance total. But he's made comments or observations that we might be, if we continue to meet just separately, 3 separate congregations, that may bring the end of some of these congregations. I'm not wording it as he worded it. I wish I could have him here right now. Then also centrally located. So we've got 3 congregations, and not just to save on rent, but to be able to unite, to be able to grow. It's wonderful when we have combined services, and then like with the potluck fellowship afterward. I just love those times, and to be able to do that in a centrally located place. Those centrally located, that phrase is broad. The city continues to grow, and anyway, of the 25 or so suggested places to look into, maybe 15 of them were outlying or far north, far south, far whatever, not centrally located. So it would be a deterrent to some part of ICF congregations if we were to meet in a non-centrally located place. This meeting was held back in January. The planning meeting for the CNMA's 100th anniversary. coming up, and they had 220 people socially distanced seated in ICA's auditorium. Gilbert is in that picture somewhere. He participated in this. He was also aware of the government's interactions. The leader of CCPC sent some officials there to make sure that everything was done properly. Anyway, they were allowed to do this meeting. Now, this is the same auditorium where I showed you the picture where they won't be meeting on February 28th or March 7th. But they have the capacity to socially distance for large crowds. So socially distancing is an issue. We can find a place that might be able to hold the whole ICF, but socially distanced, no. So that's part of the challenge. Okay, hotels costs are high. I gave the example of I went back to Sunway Hotel where our ICF North congregation had met back 15 years ago or so. Met there for maybe 3 or 4 years, I don't remember. So I went to the manager and asked them to look at the files for the deal that they had given us back then. Well, new personnel, they had never heard of ICF. They didn't. And so I got an emailed proposal that we pay $16 per person. And so, yeah, that's not a way to save money. Not a way to cut costs. Let me say that you remember the survey that was done of 3 or 4 organizations a year ago, and we sent that around last month. They had surveyed a Cambodiana hotel, and their price was $21 a person. So hotels are difficult financially. They're all hurting because there's no tourists, or I should say few tourists and few business people, so the hotels will try to make up, their costs maybe by renting to groups at exorbitant rates. Let me say, then going on to, and sometimes politically linked, I went to the DeWitt Hotel and have been cautioned that they have a lot of military and police gatherings there, and cautioned that that might not be a good place for us to meet. Now, let me say, in the past, I was trying to remember when this was, ICF has met in maybe 12, 15 different places in the 30 years I've been here. At least 1 or 2 of them we got kicked out of, not because we did anything wrong, but because the government wanted them. And when the police want to have a meeting, it doesn't matter if you've got a reservation or even are there every Sunday at that time. The police have say, and so then no, you don't get to have church this Sunday. That's happened in a couple places in previous years. So situations like where a hotel where military or police frequent or have meetings, it's not a good, it might not be a reliable place for us. Okay, then I already mentioned about socially distancing. Requires larger spaces or increased meeting cost. Or I think then especially disheartening to me would be unable to unite as one church. To be able to bring the 3 congregations of ICF together is just a wonderful possibility. It's rare for both congregations, I should say both North and South, to need a place at the same time. So this is a rare opportunity we have. So I want to give every opportunity for us to unite and to grow and build as one church. Okay, secular schools, etc., are reluctant due to needed government registration as a church venue. I mentioned this to Adam Featherston, the facilities manager at G2K, and yeah, this is discouraging that they would have to register in a sense as a church venue before we could consider meeting there. Also, I'd asked for renting by the hour, and then also on a short-term trial basis. We may start off in a place that just doesn't work out, so it'd be financially foolish for us to commit to a long-term lease, even a year lease, where in a place that just is not working for us. So I'm proposing that a 3-month basis to trial basis, and then asking for short-term, or I should say renting by the hour. So after going around to maybe 15 or more places, yeah, some good news. One place, an opportunity to unite ICF's 3 congregations, and not just for financial reasons. I see this in the best picture, again, of being able to unite the 3 congregations as being more important than maybe we think it is. Renting auditorium by the hour in 30-minute services. Remember, we're limited now by the government to a 30-minute service, so renting for an hour is doable. I mean, it's reasonable. I think if we had the normal 1-hour service, we would have to rent for 2 hours, because setup and practice and takedown times and people standing around talking and fellowshipping. So, but with limited to 30-minute services, we'd be able to rent just for 1 hour, I think. And then, yeah, I already mentioned the temporary trial basis for 3 months. So thank you for all the 25 or so suggested facilities, of which 10 or so viables, that's my word, are seriously considered. ICF staff will continue to work remotely, so cost reductions would include no office rent to pay. Now, this is harsh. I'm sorry that I had to say that to our 3 staff members, but they have already been working remotely for the past year due to COVID, so in some ways things won't change for them. We've had people suggest facilities which would include office space, such as G2K, and yet if we can't use them, we shouldn't pay for office space because of COVID. Now, later on, when ICF is in a rebuilding phase where attendance is growing, income is growing accordingly, then maybe we could look at renting office space again. I would say over the 30 years I've been part of ICF, the office, this was at Diaconia, was the first time we had an office, so most of the time we did not, and the pastors and staff worked remotely from their homes. So I have requested hourly rates for auditorium, Sunday school rooms, fellowship areas, and a central location for 3 ICF. So my best suggestion is ICA. Their offer is $50 an hour rent for the auditorium, which includes the fellowship hall and its kitchen, and the creche or crying room, which is connected almost to the fellowship hall. There's a window between the auditorium and the creche. Excuse me. They lowered their price for Sunday school rooms. Initially they had said $25 an hour, and they brought that down. By the way, one other price was mentioned for the auditorium. Instead of $50, they had mentioned $64, $65, something like that. But anyway, they decided to give us a better price as well. So $50 an hour for auditorium, fellowship hall, creche, and then $20 per Sunday school hour. And I would say we won't need Sunday school rooms during our current situation. So totaling those up, if we were to use Sunday school rooms, that's $90 an hour, or $390 a month to begin. Again, talking about trial basis, see how it goes. Maybe COVID will be out of the way in 6 months, or who knows. But taking this like 3 months at a time. $390 a month. Comparing it to previous costs, $390 a month, at Diaconia Center going on down to the yellow part, we were paying, I think, $14.85 per month. I would need to have Christina Leong say if there were any other utilities that were not included in it. I don't remember. And in Hope School, on an annual basis, we were paying about $100 a month. So a total of about $1,585 or more per month, and that's what we were previously paying. That included office space, obviously, but contrast that to $390 to begin at ICA. So they want us to come. We have a good relationship with them. Other aspects about ICA, I think probably most of you have been there because they have a lot of things that go on. They rent to various organizations and for big meetings and things like that. I already showed you their auditorium. They have, my estimate, 20, 30 places for cars inside their gate. It's guarded. If you've not been there, it's kind of down at the dead end of a wide street. So another 20 or so cars, my estimate, could park out on the street. And auditorium space, as you saw in the pictures, to unite and grow. So ICF could regrow again. And I think it's really important for us to be thinking visionary and future growth. Yeah, someday we'll be over COVID, hopefully, but in the right situation, right place to grow, we could. Let me say something from my background. I remember 35 years ago, this rule of thumb. I was one of the pastors on the staff in the U.S. Now, this is a U.S. statistic that I had learned back then, that in American churches, once they reach a capacity of about 80%, if 80% of the seats are filled in an auditorium, people start to feel crowded and they don't come back. Now that was, again, 35 years ago or so, and in the U.S. I think there's relevance to it, to this situation now, and that there's several international churches, English language services, other options for people to go to. So having the space to grow is important. A lot of facilities and space, by the way, one of the AOG people out at ICA said this place is overbuilt. They have a lot of rooms and space, big campus. There are already 4 organizations renting office space there. ICA has quite a few rooms available for Sunday school or youth ministry. Other, as I mentioned, they consider it overbuilt, but they have a large room that I'd say seats 50, 60 youth, specifically just for their youth ministry. I don't think it's been going on in the past year. Other Sunday school rooms, let me say that recently they've had parents showing up with kids, and so they've made a couple of rooms available. They're not doing Sunday school, but they have rooms for parents to drop off kids. That's been going on when they have face-to-face services. They have an outside grassy area for children to play on, or they could have outdoor Sunday school classes. They have a full basketball, volleyball court outdoors. They have fenced, gated, secure campus, so kids can run around without there being a sense of them being at risk. Yeah, you can do this yourself. Google Map, find where you live, and I did this on a Sunday afternoon, 4 p.m. Not that we have to meet at 4 p.m. It is when they're available. the auditorium's available. But just to help you get a feel for distance and time, at 4 p.m., and thank the Lord these roads have gotten better in recent years and paved, and that one just going south from ICA used to have the big electric line poles. They've taken those out, so it's safer. Anyway, that's going south. I put it down to Russian Market. So basically 21-minute drive from Russian Market to ICA on a Sunday afternoon. As far as coming from ICF North, Hope School is on another few blocks north of 1-in-1 Supermarket, but nobody lives at Hope School, so I just put it at the starting point at 1-in-1 Supermarket, which we all frequent. So 14-minute drive from ICF North. ICA other aspects, their auditorium is known by expats already, used for many other Christian events. I showed you the picture of the planning meeting for the 100th anniversary of the CNMA here, first mission to open up. The Global Leadership Summit was held there just a week or so ago. I know some of the international schools have graduation ceremonies there. We held a men's conference 3 or 4 years ago there. Pastor Andrew had mentioned he'd gone to the Christmas Handicrafts Fair held there. Bible schools have meetings there. I don't know who all has events there. So it's known as a place where Christian expats. I'm assuming a lot of you have been there. They informed me they're updating to a new soundboard. As I stuck my head into the auditorium, they had the lights on over the platform. There's really good lighting, I've noticed, and AV, the speaker system. It's all done well, thank the Lord. They're also reupholstering their auditorium chairs. They said $12 each they're spending on just reupholstering them. They have an elevator. The auditorium is 1 floor above the ground floor, but they have a nice elevator there. By the way, I did not talk with them about things like musical instruments. That partition or plexiglass partition thing on the platform is for a drum set, but I didn't talk with them about musical instruments. Other aspects, ICF and ICA have shared the same auditorium 3 times before for years. We are compatible sister churches. Let me say that Pastor Andrew and Carol and Sarah all sent an email before our meeting about concerns over being in the same building with another denomination. I don't think of us being too overshadowed by them if we grow. Let me say that we've been in a Korean building for the last 15 years or so, and I don't think there's a perception of us, of ICF South being a Korean, or being overshadowed by the Koreans. ICA is offering ICF an excellent rate for rental. Both Ann Greavy, the pastor there, and Ken Huff, the ALG country moderator, her boss, they have spoken at ICF. They both have attended ICF in the past. They want us to come, so it's nice to be not only tolerated but wanted. As I mentioned, I think 4 other Christian organizations are renting office space on the campus. World Relief, FIDA is a Finnish development organization. A Cambodian 3-person group has rented office space there. I forget the name of their, and then one other organization I forget. So it's a well-known place, and they have good parking, large parking.